Chapter 13. Filming with the superstars of the Time Project was already ending in Busan. The presenter was overjoyed. I know how busy you all are, so thank you for taking the time for today's interview. I'm looking forward to the day when I can see Time on cinema screens. The director commanded. Let's wrap it up. Thank you all for your work. Kang Seung. Hyun looked around and thought, Hwang Yura, has she returned to Seoul yet? When it was already dark, he and his manager returned to the hotel. Kwang-soo, leaving, said, I'll wake you up tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Good job, Seung-hyun. Kang-seung answered him. Good. You too, Hyung. Have a rest. Already in the room, undressing, he thought. I can't believe that I have to shoot until 11 p.m. when I literally just worked all night. Director Yu is a monster. His gaze fell on the perfectly made and clean bed. He thought about asking the maid to postpone cleaning so that Yura could have a good rest. But she cleaned it up herself. Apparently she is a rather scrupulous person, he concluded. After undressing, he went to the shower. The drops of falling water reminded him of tears, and he remembered every situation when he had met Yura before. His last memory of her was shooting today's scene on the seashore. He turned off the shower, but after thinking about it, he continued to stand in the shower. The next day, the filming of the project continued. Kwang-soo, seeing what happened on the set, was shocked. A stage partner ran up to Kang-son. In his hands, he had a wooden stick with nails driven into it. Very worried, he started shouting, Are you okay? I don't think I've got you badly hooked. I'm sorry. I thought I did everything the way we rehearsed. Kang-seung tried to calm him down. Don't worry, it's my fault. My thoughts were somewhere else. Sorry for scaring you. Kwang-soo ran up to his friend and, very nervous, asked, Seung-hyun, are you okay? Kang-seung reported that everything was fine and then looked at his palm. She was covered in blood, as was his shoulder, which his shooting partner accidentally hit with a stick. Kwang-soo, almost fainting, stuttering, talking to the director. Director Yu Yang, Seung-hyun needs to go to the hospital urgently. The director, of course, agreed with this. First, we will take care of his condition, and then we will see when we can resume shooting. Kwang-soo promised to return as soon as possible. Two friends were driving towards the medical center. Kwang-soo asked the question he was interested in. When will you return it? Kang-seung pretended not to understand him. What? Kwang-soo did not play this game and said bluntly, Your mind, it's not funny. You've been very strange lately. You forget your lines, although this has never happened before. You keep talking about how tired you are and you can't even fall asleep yourself. And now your shoulder. You've rehearsed this scene so many times. How could you take the hit on yourself? Kang-seung said sarcastically. Did you notice all this? I can continue. I went. Kang-seung opened the door and got out of the car, heading towards the medical center. Kwang-soo also got out of the car and started shouting at his back. I haven't actually finished yet. Are you afraid that I won't guess what's on your mind? Kang Seung-hyun turned around on the move, trying to evoke pity, said, I'm in a lot of pain right now. I'll definitely listen to you later. Kwang-soo was already almost beside himself with rage. Do you think I do not know that you are pretending now to change the subject? Yes, even this blood is probably not real. Kang-seung, mocking Kwang-soo, asked him, Do you want to check if she's real or not? But his manager ignored this question. According to my analysis, you've been acting like this ever since Jin Kyung left Busan. No, to be more precise, since Jin Kyung and Miss Hwang Yura left. Do you understand? Kang Sung turned around and looked at his manager, who was pleased with his guess. I hit the bullseye, right? Kang Seung's gaze became as mocking as his words. Hyun, did you understand what you just confessed? Kwang Soo, blushing with embarrassment, began to justify himself. What? What did I say? What are you talking about? Kang Seung continued to speak. Why did you mention Miss Jin Kyung out of the blue? So casual, like all you did was think about her. Kwang Soo's face turned even redder. And already quite confused, he continued to justify himself. We're just both managers, you know. All the managers gathered together to have fun and play poker. She is always together with Miss Hwang Yura, so I just automatically imagined them together. Hey, Kang Sung Hyun, are you listening to me? But Kang Sung Hyun was already lost in his thoughts. Hwang Yura. Well, I don't think Kwang Soo is very wrong. Chapter 14. Mr. Kang Seung Hyun's examination has ended at the medical center. The doctor responsible for the examination and treatment said, Fortunately, the wound is not deep. I don't think there will be any scars. But it's better to be careful for 2 or 3 days. So don't overwork yourself. Kwang Soo breathed a sigh of relief, and Kang Seung Hyun thought doubtfully. 2 or 3 days? I don't think Director Yu would agree with that. Later, when they returned to the set, Director Yu reacted differently than they thought. 2 or 3 days? Well, Seung Hyun, take 3 days off and focus on getting well. And when he saw the discouraged faces of his actor and his manager, he exclaimed in anger, What? What's with the expression on your faces? Kang Seung pondered the reason for Director Yu Yang-han's similar behavior. Before that, it was a very demanding director who did not spend a minute of free time just like that. I thought he would just postpone the fight scenes. Who would have thought that he would tell me to take the weekend off? Perhaps the reason is that this is the second incident on the set. He must be very worried. Upon returning to the hotel, Kang Seung lay down on the bed to rest, and Kwang Soo began checking his ward's schedule. Seung Hyun, you have a shoot planned for the cover of Men magazine next week. Let's reschedule it for tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Taking photos will not affect your injury. And Director Yu was wondering if it was possible to adjust your schedule for next Wednesday. Seung Hyun didn't seem to be interested in his future schedule and jokingly replied, You're making me work so hard. I should probably find another manager. Kwang Soo supported a friend's joke. Go ahead. You will do me a huge favor. Well, then I'll adjust the schedule. Get some rest, and I'll go get a beer. In the next room, there was the sound of metal cans of beer being placed on the table, and the TV turned on. Kang Seung entered the room with a puzzled expression and asked, Why did you decide to drink here? I think you wanted me to rest. Kwang Soo thought the answer was pretty obvious. All the other managers are on set. What's the point of drinking alone? Just sit here and chat with me for a bit. Kang Son had no choice but to sit next to him on the sofa and ask, So, and what do you want to talk about? Kwang Soo, having drunk for courage, put the jar on the table and began to speak. About what you told me in front of the medical center. I think I'm really interested in Miss Jin Kyung. We don't know each other well enough to say that I like her. Kwang Soo was too shy to tell anyone, but he couldn't not share it with someone, so he continued thoughtfully. But you know, a person who is so passionate about his work is very attractive. I think that's the kind of people I like. Kang Seung offered him the easiest way out of the situation. Then just tell her that. I thought you exchanged numbers. Kwang-soo was a little annoyed by his friend's misunderstanding. Hey, how can I say this over the phone? If I'm going to say something like that, I need to do it in person. To tell the truth, I don't even know what I should say if I meet her. That's enough about it. Forget it. Let's talk about you. What's between you and the actress? How much do you like her that she influences your work so much? Kang Seong-hyun didn't really want to talk about this topic and asked, how did it happen in general? Two grown men playing truth or dare. Kwang-soo noticed this and exclaimed loudly, Stop changing the subject! I have a right to know, especially when it affects your work. Kang Seong wondered if it was worth telling about his feelings, and after thinking a little said, I think it's similar to what you feel. And why are you so excited? Kwang-soo was incredibly glad that he was not the only one experiencing such a feeling, and not the only one having such problems. But he still remained Kang Seong's manager, and therefore hurried to warn him about the consequences. See? I knew it! Well, you're not an idol from the 90s. Besides, you're old enough to date someone. However, it is better not to advertise it. If an article is published, it will not benefit any of you, but will only affect your work. It seemed to Kang Son that Kwang-soo was thinking too far ahead in a situation in which everything was very unclear. Don't you think you're rushing things too much? Kwang-soo was surprised by his friend's similar uncertainty, and deciding to give him faith in himself, the encouraging one said, What are you talking about? Is it possible not to fall in love with you? Whatever it is, I will fully support you. Just be careful. And stop acting like a jerk. This time, Kang Seong began to be shy, and wanting to end this conversation already, he said quietly, I understand. Just drink your beer already. However, Kwang-soo did not want to just end this conversation, and looking for support from his friend, asked another question with a smile. But Seong-hyun, no matter how much I think about it, isn't Miss Jin-kyung cute? Kang Seong had no choice but to agree to this. There was heavy traffic on the roads in the city of Seoul. Drivers trying to get to the right place faster honked loudly. One of these signals woke up Hwang Yura, who was lying in the back seat of the car driven by her sister. Looking in the rear-view mirror, Jin Kyung greeted her sister. My God, you haven't slept since dawn. You did a good job today. Still not fully awake, Yura complained to her sister. It's so weird. Why do I feel so sluggish? Jin Geng made her suggestion. Did you feel like this during the filming of Time? Maybe it's because you almost drowned. Maybe we should go to the hospital. But Hwang Yura rejected her suggestion. It's been a long time since the filming. I'm not sure that's the reason. And sitting alone in the back seat, she thought deeply. Now that I think about it, it's been 3 weeks since the shooting, and the days drag on slowly, then quickly. I wonder how Mr. Kang Se-young is doing. Jin Kyung, seeing a familiar cafe on the side of the road, pulled her out of her thoughts. Yura! Do you remember the cafe we used to go to often before? Maybe we'll have coffee there, so as not to fall asleep completely. Yura, who hadn't slept since dawn, thought it was a great idea. They went into this coffee shop, but there was not a single visitor inside. Jin Kyung suggested in surprise. Wow! Apparently it's so empty here because it's a weekday. Yura, climbing the steps after her sister, also noted in surprise. It looks like it. All cafes are at our disposal. They settled down at a table against the wall, and Jin Kyung went for coffee, after asking her sister if she wanted anything. Yura asked to bring coffee with nut syrup, and while my sister is away, I decided to play a game on my phone. But the game was not as easy as it seemed at first. The maze level was quite difficult, and she was tapping the screen more and more enthusiastically. She was so focused on the game that when someone put 2 cups of coffee next to her, she, without being distracted, loudly asked, "Sis, you're just in time! Can you help me? I can't pass the level!" Handing the phone to the person who came up to her, she finally looked up. At that moment, she saw that it was not her sister, but the person she dreamed of and was afraid to see the most. Kang Sung-hyun took the phone out of her hands, looked at the screen and asked, "A maze game." I feel dizzy with such pictures. Hwang Yura froze in one place, her mouth hanging open in surprise. Chapter 15. Hwang Yura had only one thought in his head. What's going on? Is this a dream? Kang Seong-hyun was sitting right in front of her, wearing a beautiful black coat, and playing a game on her phone. Everything was like a dream. Right now, Mr. Kang Seong should be in Busan on the set of the project Time. Then why is he sitting here playing my game? After a short silence, Seong-hyun asked, "Listen, if I die, the game is completely over." "I'm not sure I can get through this." Yura answered confusedly. "No, after losing, you can play again." "But Mr. Kang Seong, why are you here?" Without looking up from the game and looking at the phone, he asked the question that had been tormenting him for the last few weeks. "I wanted to ask something. Do you feel it too?" Yura, looking at him with wide open eyes, still stammered, answered, "Excuse me? What are you talking about?" Kang Seong looked up from the phone and looking straight into his eyes said, "I think about you all the time and miss you. Do you feel the same way?" Time seemed to have stopped. Yura looked him straight in the eye and thoughts were spinning in her head. What? Misses me? Thinking about me? Who? He? The pause in the conversation dragged on, and without waiting for an answer right now, Kang Seong got up from the table and pushed her phone to her. "Sorry, I can't stay longer, since the break for the magazine cover is already ending. You can answer my questions on the phone." "Well, I'll go." He told her this, buttoned up his coat, and headed for the exit of the cafe. Yura picked up the phone, and a new contact, Kang Sung-hyun, and his phone number were recorded there. As soon as the door of the cafe closed behind Kang Son's back, her sister ran up to her, overwhelmed with emotions, and began enthusiastically sharing her impressions. "I can't believe it! My God, what just happened? His every word was amazing. I'm so excited. See? Already goosebumps went." "Hey, Hwang Yura, can you hear me?" Jin Kyung started waving his hand in front of her face. Yura raised her head and looked at her sister. "Wait a minute, Jin Kyung, did you know about everything?" Jin Kyung answered her with a smile from ear to ear. "How do you like my acting? Maybe I should quit my job as a manager and become an actor." Yura could not understand how this happened at all, and her sister hastened to answer these questions to her. "You know Mr. Kwang Soo, Kang Seong-hyun's manager, right? We exchanged numbers with him when we were in Busan. After we got back, we chatted a couple of times at most. And yesterday he called me and told me that Kang Seong-hyun got hurt on the set because of you." Hwang Yura couldn't believe it, and very nervous exclaimed, "What? How? Why because of me?" Jin Kyung continued her story. "What do you mean, why?" "He couldn't concentrate on his work because he was constantly thinking about you. Kwang Soo was worried about him. I was worried that something else might happen. That's why I wanted you to meet." Yura tried to hide her smile with her hand and began to reason out loud. Was he distracted because he was thinking about me? And that's why he got hurt? What kind of nonsense is this? But the sister noticed what Yura was trying to hide so carefully and asked, "Do you know you're smiling now? Haven't you heard? He said he doesn't stop thinking about you and misses you. Oh, and I'm sorry I didn't warn you in advance. We just weren't sure how his schedule would turn out. Since they only briefly returned to the force for the magazine cover shoot." Jin Kyung was very happy that everything turned out as planned, and Yura tried to collect her thoughts. "So you're saying that Kang Seong-hyun got hurt on the set because he was constantly thinking about me and therefore couldn't concentrate. Does he constantly think and miss me?" The elder sister confirmed all the information and waited for Yura to come to the only conclusion. "In other words, Mr. Seong-hyun," Yura began to speak slowly, Jin Kyung, already tired of waiting for her sister to voice the thought out loud, tried to push her. "Yes, me!" Yura still couldn't believe her words and thoughts. Jin Kyung had already laughed out loud. "That's right!" Yura was numb from the unreality of what was happening. It was like a waking dream. Confused, she asked, "And what to do?" For Jin Kyung, the situation was a piece of cake, and she gave her sister the simplest advice. "What do you mean?" "Pick up the phone, call, and when he answers, say, 'I missed you too, and didn't stop thinking about you. If I was sure you weren't interested in him, I wouldn't have agreed to this adventure. But after the shooting, all you did was talk about him.'" Yura herself understood how she should have acted, but for her the situation was somewhat more complicated than it seemed to her sister. She thought deeply. "Of course, I am happy and flattered. Mr. Kang Seong-hyun, whom I saw on the set, was a really charming and perfect person." In minute detail, as if it were today, the events of 3 weeks ago began to flash before her eyes, which were among the happiest in her life. But there was a thought that haunted her. However, Kim Jong-woo also seemed like that at first. He seemed charming, friendly, and caring. I couldn't even think that there was another side to him. Her heart was broken into many pieces at that time, and after thinking even harder, she came to disappointing conclusions for herself. Of course, Kang Seong-hyun may be completely different. However, I don't have the courage to check it out. I'm not ready yet. Chapter 16. Jin Kyung, performing her duties as a manager, was looking for possible roles for Yura. "Yura, look! So many audition announcements, probably because the year has just begun. The drama scheduled for the beginning of May seems quite interesting. What do you think? Filming of the director's work will begin at the end of the year." She turned and looked at Yura, who was sitting on the floor, looking at the phone screen. Hwang Yura was trying to figure out how to start a dialogue with Kang Seong-hyun. But as soon as she had one option, she rejected it as unfit and immediately tried to come up with a new one. Jin Kyung pulled the phone out of Yura's hands and said she would write to Mr. Sung-hyun herself. Yura got scared and forcibly snatched the phone back. Jin Kyung said to her sister with incomprehension, "Oh my God, can't you just call him? If not, then forget about it. What's the point of worrying for so long?" Yura, looking sadly at the floor, answered her, "I can't help myself." Jin Kyung looked at her sister with pity and sat down next to her on the floor. "I understand you. But in my opinion, Kang Seong-hyun is a really good person. He seems attentive and caring." But Yura had a weighty argument in store. "Kim Jong-woo was also like that at first. Cute, and seemed to be the most perfect guy in the world. You've never suspected him either." Jin Kyung was annoyed by this remark and tried to object. "No, it's not the same. Kim Jong-woo, If this bastard had behaved in front of the camera the way he did with you, I'm sure he would never have gotten to big roles. Anyway, even if you don't trust Kang Sung-hyun, you're still interested in him. Take your time and just keep in touch with him. So you'll slowly get to know each other. Yura still had doubts. But still, what should I do if he turns out to be the same? Then Jin Kyung came up with what she thought was a great idea. Hey, let's drink some soju. Who knows, maybe a drop of alcohol will give you courage and you can write to him. But Yura did not share her enthusiasm. Forget it. Calling someone drunk is not the best option. Besides, I still don't know what to answer. Jin Kyung liked the idea more and more by the minute. She decided to persuade Yura to relax a little and distract herself. No, what do you mean? I don't know. Judge for yourself. To miss someone like Kang Seung-hyun is a pure crime. So let's have a glass for courage. Yura did not agree with her. No way, I don't want to get drunk. But Jin Kyung was adamant, and by all means wanted to realize her idea. If you are afraid that you will dial his number and carry all sorts of nonsense, don't worry. I will definitely prevent this catastrophe. Under such pressure, Yura almost gave up and shouted, "That's why I don't drink." Some time later, Yura, with a glass in her hands, smiling, turned to her sister. "Sis, what are you doing? Come on, let's have another drink." But Jin Kyung, from the amount of alcohol, she had already gone to sleep on the bed. Hwang Yura, laughing and wanting to continue communication, began to wake up her sister. "Hey, you wanted a drink yourself? Get up!" There was no trace of Jin Kyung's former enthusiasm. Already falling asleep, she could only say, "Yura, don't shake me." Yura, realizing that her sister could not be woken up, lay down next to her. Her head was spinning and she thought regretfully, "I wasted the whole day and didn't call Mr. Kang-son back. I must tell him not to wait for my answer. But isn't it too late to call at this hour?" The clock on the phone showed 1:42 a.m. She laughed while lying on the bed. "That's right, not the best idea. Who even calls someone at 2 o'clock in the morning? Maybe at least send a message." She lay there and doubted whether to send messages or not. Meanwhile, the clock has already shown 2 hours 53 minutes of the night. "Okay, I'll just send a message. If I write now, he will read it only in the morning. When I sober up, I won't be able to escape anyway. I don't think I can do it on a sober head." The fingers seemed to start typing the message themselves. "Mr. Kang Seung-hyun, this is Hwang Yura." She finished the entire message and pressed the send button. I was relieved to think that it was good that I decided to send it. I turned off the light and got ready to sleep. Already falling asleep, she thought, "Well, it's time to sleep. I did everything I could. Whatever it is, I'll figure it out tomorrow." And just as she mentally wished her sister good night, the phone beeped. She jumped up and looked at the screen. There was an incoming call from Kang Seung-hyun on the screen. And what should I do? She hesitated, looking at the screen. Chapter 17. The phone continued to persistently make sounds of an incoming call. My sister was sleeping next to me, unable to give any advice. Yura made the final decision. "Well, okay. I can't avoid him forever." Confidently, she pressed the answer button. But after a second, when she began to speak, her voice was not so confident. "Hello? Mr. Kang Sung-hyun?" A voice that she had been wanting to hear for a long time came from the phone. Getting straight to the point, he asked a question. "Have you been drinking?" Yura was immediately confused and asked, "How did you find out?" Kang-son replied to her, "SMS. I didn't understand anything at all. That's weird. I thought I typed it right. Maybe I woke you up? He answered this question and then asked his own. No, I didn't sleep. What about you? Have you been somewhere? Yura decided to tell the truth. No, I was drinking at home. Kang Seung asked if she had plans for tomorrow, and in response heard that she had nothing planned. Then let's meet tomorrow. Explain to me the meaning of the message already on a sober head. Hwang Yura slowly started to panic. What? Do you want to see me tomorrow? Kang Seung asked mockingly. And what? Did you swear at me in the message? Yura, continuing her panic, tried to justify herself in a hurry. No, of course not. Then there's nothing to worry about. I'll send the time and place in the morning. Not knowing what to do, she started shouting into the phone. No, wait! But there was already a long sound in the phone. Kang Seung, having learned everything he wanted, hung up the phone. Yura felt emotionally crushed. The same questions kept replaying in her head. What was that just now? What happened at all? I can't believe I'm going to see him tomorrow. How to be? She clutched the phone tightly in her hands and almost burst into tears. It is unlikely that she will be able to sleep tonight. The morning turned out to be very sunny and snowy. On the radio, the announcer was broadcasting. Next is the weather forecast. Heavy snowfall is expected in Seoul and Gyeonggi province today. However, elevated temperatures can slow down the onset of cold weather. For those who are planning a trip. The very cafe where Yura had an appointment was flooded with snow. There was not a single person on the street terraces. Hwang Yura was sitting inside with a cup of coffee. Looking at the phone screen, on which the clock showed 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Yura was all in her thoughts. In the end, I couldn't sleep all night. How good that I woke up before Mr. Kang Seung sent the message. He wanted to meet at 1:30. I was afraid of being late, so I quickly packed up and came half an hour earlier. At the moment of her reasoning, an incoming call rang on the phone. Yura picked up the phone, and her sister's voice sounded from there. Have you left yet? Where are you now? Yura replied that she arrived a few minutes ago. Jin Kyung was surprised that she arrived so early, but Yura explained her early appearance at the cafe. I thought that because of the snowfall, traffic would be slowed down. But it was better than I expected. Where are you? Jin Kyung replied that she was in Myeongdong. Hwang Yura's suspicions began to creep in. Are you really dating someone for work? Something tells me that you're lying. You've dressed up too much. Have you found yourself a man? Jin Kyung was surprised by her sister's insight, blushed, and began to make ridiculous excuses. What are you talking about? As if I have time for this. I'm with you every day. But such an answer only strengthened Yura's suspicions. Someone got very excited. It's like you're dating a man. In Myeongdong, a man approached Jin Kyung with a welcoming gesture, and she hurried to end the conversation. Nothing like that. That's it. I'm hanging up. I'll see you at home. Her behavior seemed terribly suspicious to her. She began to replay the events of the past few weeks in her head and analyzed Jin Kyung's recent behavior. I remembered their conversation in a cafe, in which Jin Kyung said that she and Kwang Soo, Kang Seung's manager, exchanged numbers when they were in Busan. And after they returned to Seoul, they chatted a couple of times at most. But I can't be sure because I didn't notice anything special. Well, it's better to focus on what lies ahead for now. Yura decided to postpone these thoughts for another time and, being unsure of herself, decided to fix her makeup by looking at the image from the camera on her phone. It seems to be good, she decided, looking at her image. While I'm waiting, I need to take a selfie. But in the image on the phone behind her, another person appeared. It was Kang Seung-hyun, dressed in a black coat and tightly wrapped in a black scarf. Yura was very embarrassed looking up at him. He smiled and wondered why she had come so early. In Yura's head, the question arose again, why he always catches her by surprise. Not knowing how to start a dialogue, she shyly said, "You've come." Taking off his coat, Kang Seung asked her, "Sorry, have you been waiting long?" Still shy, Yura continued the conversation. "Not at all. We are both early. Heavy snowfall today. Did you get there well?" Kang Seung answered her question with a question. "Miss Yura, have you ever taken a high-speed taxi during the day?" Yura replied that she did not go, and Kang Seung-hyun continued. "Try it next time. It will definitely distract from the discomfort caused by the snow." "So you came here by taxi?" Yura guessed. Kang Seung, sitting on a chair opposite her, replied, "Yes, I don't use my car for personal matters. It's the same with the van." "That's right. You're a celebrity," Yura said, and realizing that she had said something stupid, she blushed even more from embarrassment. When she looked up at him, she saw that he was looking directly at her. Why does he always look at people so directly? Still feeling awkward, Yura thought and looked away. Kang Seung-hyun decided to break this awkward pause and asked a question that had arisen in his mind during the night. "Listen, since you've sobered up, can you explain the meaning of what you've written? I have no idea what it says here." Yura seemed to be pleased that this silence was broken, but she was most ashamed of this question because she did not remember what she wrote at night. "Explain? Strange. I checked several times before sending it." She started reading her message from his phone, and the more she read, the wider her eyes opened. Burning with shame, she could not believe what she saw. "Did I really send it?" Chapter 18. Yura was reading the message that she sent last night and was becoming more and more ashamed. She was thinking in her head, "I can't believe I got drunk and sent such a message. It was stupid to think that I was fine at all when I had drunk so much." Sitting down, she bowed in apology and handed the phone to Kang Seung. "Hyun, I'm really sorry. I had no idea I was that drunk." Kang Seung still wanted to figure out what had happened. "Since it was you who wrote this message, you can explain its meaning, right?" Yura was so ashamed that she couldn't even explain. She couldn't even look him straight in the eye. In her thoughts, of course, she was able to decipher the meaning of this message very easily. "I politely rejected you, but this meeting makes me change my mind." "But there's no way I'm going to tell you that." Seung-hyun sat across from him and politely waited for Yura to speak. But the pause had already dragged on for too long, and fearing that she would just silently run away, he decided to help her. "I'm not sure what exactly you wanted to say, but the answer doesn't have to be long. I have just one question that I want to get a simple answer to. I think about you all the time and miss you. Do you feel the same way?" Yura was in complete confusion, and of course, the answer to this question very quickly appeared in her head. "I don't even need to think to answer. There hasn't been a day since filming that I haven't thought about him. I thought about Mr. Kang Seung-hyun so much that the day he just appeared in front of me, I thought I was hallucinating. But if I tell him honestly, what will happen then? I am curious, but at the same time anxious. What do I even want? Hwang Yura's mind was torn between the desire to tell him everything and the fear that the same thing might happen to Kim Jong-woo. She didn't answer, and Kang Seung-hyun was already beginning to doubt himself. He had a dialogue in his head that he had conducted with Kwang-soo this morning. What? Did you just hang up after you said that? And what? Are you so sure that Miss Hwang Yura will come to the meeting? Kang Seung tried not to show his uncertainty. Yes, I sent her the place and time this morning. Therefore, I will go alone in the afternoon. Kwang-soo was trying to figure out the reason for his friend's self-confidence. Seung-hyun, you kept talking about me rushing things too much. And now you are so sure that she will accept your invitation. Were you even worried about the thought that she might reject you? Kang Seung reported that he had never thought about it. Kwang-soo, already losing patience, exclaimed loudly, "See, that's what I'm talking about. You know, no one will refuse you if you take a step forward. However, some people require a different approach. And I also know that you've never had to worry about such things before. But it may be different for her." Back then, Kang Seung-hyun ignored his friend's words. But now, when Yura simply kept silent on his confession, he thought about it, and he gradually became afraid. Hwang Yura had just started talking, and at the same second, Kang Seung-hyun's phone rang. "I'm really sorry. I need to take this call. Otherwise, he just won't stop bothering me." Yura was glad that she had a small amount of time left, hurried to calm him down. "Everything is fine. It's really all right. Answer me." Kang Seung picked up the phone and became more irritated during the dialogue. "Hello? No, I haven't asked yet." "What? No way. Don't even think about it." Yura wondered what kind of person was talking to Mr. Kang Seung-hyun. At that moment, another man came into the cafe. He was dressed in an expensive brown coat and gave the impression of a very wealthy and handsome man. "Oh, there you are." I wasn't sure what the name of the place was, so I searched all the nearby cafes. Yura thought that he was a very attractive person. But Kang Seung-hyun was not very pleased with his arrival. "You can't just come here like that." But the man who entered ignored his angry statement and, taking off his glasses, smiled. "I've been trying to call you all day anyway. I already thought you weren't answering because your battery ran out." Kang Seung was a little confused by the appearance of this man. "You just called me. What are you talking about?" The man, still with the same smile, unceremoniously sat down on a chair next to Kang Seung-hyun. Well, now move a little." Yura found this man vaguely familiar, and having already begun to guess who this stranger was, she said, "And you don't happen to be?" The stranger laughed even harder. "Look, it looks like they recognize me. Since we've never officially met before, how about a little greeting? Nice to meet you. I'm Jang Min-sung, a famous music video director." Kang Seung-hyun was sitting next to him, and dissatisfied with the arrival of Jang Min-sung without an invitation, thought that no one introduced himself like that. Yura, on the contrary, jumped up smiling at the unexpected acquaintance and stretched out her hand forward. "Nice to meet you. My name is Hwang Yura." Director Chang Ming, without stopping smiling, took her hand and shook it vigorously. "Yes, it's very nice to meet you too. Chang Min-son was a pretty famous model in the past. However, now he is known more as a creative director of music videos." Yura had the thought that he was much friendlier than she imagined, and she asked him a question. "What brings you here at such a time?" Without stopping shaking his hand and flashing all 32 teeth, Chang Min-son quickly chattered. Exactly, I understand. Such an honor, isn't it? And it's a great honor for me too. Yura slowly began to feel embarrassed and only laughed in response. Kang Sung-hyun was struck by the spontaneity and arrogance of his acquaintance and asked Yura if she was all right. She didn't understand what was going on. Kang Sung tried to apologize and justify himself. I'm terribly sorry. I was going to ask you first before inviting him to tell the truth. At that moment, Chang Min-sung interrupted him and said with a carefree smile, Forget about these boring conversations. Miss Hwang Yura, would you like to become famous? Yura just lost her mind from such a proposal. Chapter 19. The events that took place one day ago in a hotel room in Seoul. Jang Min-sung shouted in despair. Not here! Not here either! Not here either! Kang Sung-hyun, flipping through the script, asked disinterestedly, What exactly? Having completely lost hope, Chang Ming shouted, Talent! It's starting again, Kang Sung-hyun thought irritably, and Chang Min continued his tantrum. No, but why do they all look great during the meeting, but everything changes when it comes to filming? At least 100 people were interviewed. Kang Sung, still not particularly interested in the situation, asked a friend whose clip he was shooting. Already almost crying, Chang Min-sung answered him, Nix, these idols will soon return to the stage. I thought everything would go smoothly since the script itself is fine, but I didn't expect that we would get stuck at the casting stage. Seung-hyun, putting his script aside, asked what kind of role it was. Chang Ming, delighted by his friend's attention to his situation, began to tell him with great enthusiasm. It's about a woman who was hurt by love. And then one day she encounters another type of love. But because of the deep wounds, it is difficult for her to start a new relationship. She's unconsciously attracted to him, but she's too scared to take any chances. But she can't help but love him because she constantly thinks about this guy. Chang Min-sung described the role very theatrically and added sadly at the end, But there is no one who can accurately convey these feelings. Of course, if I were looking for experienced actors, I'm sure someone would be able to play it right. But I want to use a new face. An actress for whom a certain image has not yet been fixed. Damn, it's so hard. Kang Sung, already listening to his friend a little, thought about Hwang Yura, a deeply wounded woman. If you think about it, in time, she played the same character. He broke the silence and said that there was one person suitable for this role. Jang Min-sung immediately stopped his tirade and asked who he was talking about. Kang Seung said that an actress named Hwang Yura could be suitable for this role. Jang Min-sung immediately started searching for her on the internet on his phone. Kang Seung-hyun hopefully checked the incoming messages on his phone, but it was still empty. Noticing that the friend was deep in thought while looking at the phone, he asked what Min-sung thought of her. In response, he heard, "She is undoubtedly charming, but I think she is a little old for this role." Seung-hyun, hearing such a statement, flared up. "What? If she looks old, what age do you need an actress? Give me the phone." Of course, there is creative freedom, but within the framework of social standards. He began to talk about the age of actresses and looked at the phone screen. There was a photo of a retired woman named Hwang Yura. She was a food researcher by profession. The thought flashed through Kang Son's mind whether his friend ever turns on his brain. He returned his phone to Chang Min-son and he tried to find the right girl again. "I see an actress with exactly the same name. Is that her?" Kang Seung glanced at the phone screen and seeing a photo of the same Hwang Yura there, confirmed that it was her. Jang Min-sung still began to doubt the correctness of the choice. The profile photo is good, but there is no outstanding filmography. How did you find out about her? You also recommend it. Kang-seung from the other end of the room, pouring coffee, said that they had recently starred together in a movie. For Chang-ming, this argument was quite weighty. Really? If Kang Seung-hyun himself approves, then she's pretty good. Seung-hyun decided to give a little more information. You've met her too, at Miran's wedding. She's the one who ate my soup and grabbed her sunglasses off the table. His friend, hearing such information, was very surprised. Wow! What an amazing turn of events! What is it? I feel something. Is there something going on between you? Kang Seung, handing him a glass of coffee, replied with regret in his voice. Nothing. But I want something to happen. Jang Min-sung jumped up from the floor where he was sitting and began to shout enthusiastically. Kang Seung-hyun, what is it? Come on, tell me. Let me support you properly. But Seung-hyun didn't share his delight. I get it. Stop it already. I'm still sick, remember? The evening flowed smoothly into the night, and tired of work, the two friends fell asleep lying on the sofas. Changming woke up to the sound of a message coming on his phone. Not understanding when he managed to fall asleep, he looked at the screen of his phone. But the notification didn't come to him. Taking a friend's phone in his hands, he looked at the screen and began to wake him up. Kang Seung-hyun, you got a message. But Kang Seung did not want to leave the dream world. Therefore, to see the reaction of a friend, he said with a mocking smile, Are you sure you don't want to check it out? What if it's from the person you want something to happen to? It was as if Kang Seung-hyun had never had a dream. He grabbed and snatched the phone from Chang Min-sung's hands. With interest, he began to read the message that came, but the more he read, the more he did not understand what was written there. He decided to call and ask what it meant. Chang Ming, who was watching all this nearby, couldn't wait to find out all the details. The phone was ringing, and Kang Seung already thought that Yura had fallen asleep after she sent the message. But then her voice came on the line. He didn't know what to say, so he immediately asked directly, Have you been drinking? SMS. I didn't understand anything at all. A slightly slurred voice came from the phone. That's weird. I thought I typed it right. Did I wake you up? Kang Seung-hyun, so that she would not feel guilty, decided to lie. No, I did not sleep. What about you? Have you been somewhere? Jang Min-sung stood nearby and giggled, eavesdropping on the conversation. So that his friend wouldn't knock him off the conversation with his laughter, Seung-hyun lightly kicked him with his knee and continued talking to Yura. I see. What are your plans for tomorrow? Let's meet tomorrow then. Explain to me the meaning of the message already on a sober head. I'll send the time and place in the morning. He hung up the phone and let out a sigh of relief. Chang Ming was nearby and laughed at Kang Son in a friendly way. That's a sly one. Are you exactly the Kang Seung Hyun that I know? Already tired of the chatter of a friend, Kang Seung asked him, If you shut up for even a minute, then will you die? But Chang Ming didn't notice the sarcastic tone in his voice and continued his chatter. So, are you going to meet her halfway? How fortunate. Then I'll see with her. Isn't it better to meet the person you personally recommended earlier? What should I wear? You need to make a good first impression, don't you think? Precisely. Didn't I show you the coat I bought recently? Kang Seung-hyun was horrified at the prospect. Trying to stop such an emotional pressure of his comrade, he exclaimed, "Hey, Jang Min-sung! No, not tomorrow." But his friend was already set up for tomorrow's meeting and was very excited about it, so he did not pay attention to Kang Son's words. "I told you, not tomorrow. Are you even listening to me?" Thanks for watching. If you like this story, please like and subscribe to the channel.